That's Kelly Mitchell, in case you didn't identify yourself. And I'm Jim Barry, and right now, for those of you who are listening to us, we are looking at some pictures of a very devastated Florida city. We're looking at trees knocked down. We're looking at traffic signals that are out. Florida City on the outer reaches of Dade County civilization in very South Dade County in the near the Homestead area. This is an area that I believe is largely rural, and as we go through some of these areas, we see not a lot of property damage because, frankly, there isn't a lot of property in some of these areas. It's a very open area, but we're looking at trees just smashed and looking at a lot of steel beams that are just bent all to bits, as people there also obviously were hit very hard by Hurricane Andrew.
And also, this is really about the southernmost boundary of the heavy damage. Beyond this, when you start getting into the Keys, an area that so many people were worried about because of its vulnerability, it really came off a little bit better. And so the heavy stuff pretty much stops at Florida City and kind of works slightly north, and then, of course, after that, the farther north you go, things improve considerably. I'm
wondering a lot about the people who do live in those largely rural areas, because mostly we've been focusing on the heavily populated areas, of course, Perrine and Cutler Ridge and Homestead, but there's a little community down there called Naranja that is very rural. I mean, you've got farms, and I just wonder about the impact upon those people. Obviously, if the people in residential, heavily populated areas are cut off, you can imagine what it must be like for those who live in a more rural setting. Yeah,
it's not a pretty picture for anybody. We're moving now into the Homestead area. You're seeing some of the damage there, some of the water still standing, those types of things, and that's a concern too, because one of the things that the folks told us about in Charleston, South Carolina, was the standing water, of course, was a breeding ground for mosquitoes. So there was big concern about the spread of disease, those kinds of things, on top of what we're all dealing with now. And as you can imagine, the situation is not the most sanitary. So if with all luck, if the weather holds out and it stays dry and we've got some sunshine, some of that water may start disappearing, and we certainly hope so.
Right. It's been, of course, very difficult to communicate with people down in this part of the county. The phone lines are down in many cases. You can't drive down there, and so perhaps the best thing that a lot of us can do is write a letter and hope that it gets through. And the Postal Service is announcing plans to restore some semblance of normal postal service to the folks in that part of the county. And joining us now live on the phone is Sesta Ayer, a spokesman with the Postal Service. What can you tell us about your efforts? First of all, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Thank you very much for letting me on. We're working real hard right now. Mail is starting to come back in from the outer areas. In other words, mail coming into the Miami area is beginning to come in, and we're working to process that mail. Today, we're spending time at each facility that is standing to determine how usable it is and how we can get back in there. Additionally, we want to meet with folks from the Dade Emergency Operations Center to work with them to try to establish general delivery points. Now, those are points where we will set up in areas that have been devastated by Hurricane Andrew and have mail delivered to the employees, by the customers rather, or having them come to that location. We will provide the information through the media on where those locations will be and what will be needed to pick up mail. But rest assured, we are doing everything we can right now to return to normal operations.
What about mailing out? I know there's a lot of people concerned that they don't know, paying their bills and being penalized for being late and that type of thing. I mean, you obviously can't speak for companies like American Express and that kind of thing, but what are the facilities for people who need to get their bills paid?
Right now, those facilities that we know are returning as quickly as possible are up in the northern Dade area. If they have friends who can get those bills up to the North Dade, Broward County for sure, it'll drop in the mail and it'll go to its destination with no problem. The places in the south where we really have problems with collection boxes and offices, the same thing. Once we ascertain where we are with our facilities and the establishment of the general delivery offices, we will also deliver as well as collect mail going out.
Oh, that's probably the best news a lot of people have had in a long time, because you've got to get something normal going after a while. How are your people holding up? I'm sure this is kind of rough on them.
I have to say that they're holding up quite well. Many of our employees who live in Dade County were impacted one way or another by Hurricane Andrew, but We had quite a few folks that came into work last night. We have quite a load in this morning. We'll be pretty close to normal, I would say, in a couple of days or so.
Will you be borrowing people from other areas to bring in to help deal with this flow of mail?
At this point, we've not had to do that. We do have access to those personnel and other resources, but at this point, we're working with what we have, and our employees are responding in such a way that we believe we can get the job done.
Are many of your post offices back up and running, and can you provide us with some kind of list so we can let people know where they can go to process
I can
mail?
get a specific list for you from Dade County very shortly. All offices in Broward County, with the exception of some who may not have power, and I think there may be only one or two without power in Broward County, that being the Hallandale office and the Margate office. They should have employees there working, however. But all Broward County, all of Palm Beach County are operating as normal. There are some offices in North Dade County, i.e. the Norland branch, I know for sure is working, and there are several others, and I'll get the list back to you within about 30 minutes or so.
Oh, good. That's what I was going to ask you. You said you'd brief us as soon as possible. Do you have sort of a feel for when that might be?
I'm looking at about 30 to 45 minutes where I'll know what we have operating this morning.
Okay, Mr. Ayers, we thank you for joining us, and I know that's welcome news for folks in those high